Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of our Steam Chikahan this June. So I hope your June has been doing good so far, and we pray and hope that you are sound and safe, especially from the threat of the virus. But life moves on, and so is our Steam Chikahan this month of June. I'm very happy that we have a new kachikahan this time. I'm just so excited to formally introduce her today. So our guest kachikahan today is actually a Silimanian. She graduated in the year 1986 with a degree Bachelor of Science, major in mathematics. And right after that, right after college, she tried to work at San Pedro College in Davao City. And years later, she started to work on her master's at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and finished in 1992 her degree in the degree Master of Arts in Teaching Mathematics. And her career here in Silliman University started in the year 1987, firstly at the Silliman University Junior High School. And then right after that, she also studied again for graduate studies. This time, Master of Arts in Education, major in Environmental Science. That is from Plymouth State College. I hope I correctly pronounced that one. United States of America. And then she was transferred to the College of Arts and Sciences, particularly to the mathematics department in the year 2002. And currently, she is teaching at the senior high school and acts as one of the STEAM coordinators. So, friends, wherever you are and whenever you're watching this, it's a pleasure to introduce to you our kachikahan. This time, Assistant Professor Gilda Scribner. Yay! Hello, Ma'am Scrib. Thank you so much
Hi.
for
Good day, everyone.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and we are truly honored and blessed, for your acceptance to this. So, Ma'am Hilda and I are going to talk about students' attitude towards mathematics. So, as we were conceptualizing who's the best person to ask about this, so we were considering maybe like someone who has this rich experience in terms of teaching mathematics, and of course with varied experiences from the basic education to college and now to senior high school, and of course in different schools as well. So I think Ma'am Scribner really has the rich experience. So we're so blessed for that, Ma'am. Thank you so much. So Ma'am Scrib, let us start with our chikahan. I would like to ask
Okay.
you, um, why did you choose BS Mathematics for college?
Good question. It's still, I don't know, I still cannot even imagine myself doing so because from a family whose background is biology. So I'm like some way, somewhat off to the rest. So it's like, okay, since I actually applied for in UP Med. They already had that 7 year medical degree, but then I didn't pass. So I just said, okay, I'll go to Silliman. And then one of my professors, the late Sir Leo Villa Gonzalo, was my Math 11 teacher, and he said, "No, why don't you join BS Math?" I said, "Okay, I'll see if I can survive." And before I knew it, I was already third year college, and so I said, "Okay, this is it. I'd better finish this. I have to finish my degree in 4 years." So that's it.
Oh, nice, interesting. No? So from medicine to mathematics. Right. So, Ma'am Scrib, growing up, like being a high school student before, did you really have this passion already, or did you even love mathematics before, like during your high school days?
Again, interesting question. I think we were sort of infatuated with our algebra teacher then. I think no geometry. Correction, geometry teacher. He was a single guy, and we were like only a few. What's this? We're like probably less than 10 females in our class, so we were like starstruck or infatuated by our teacher, and that gave us a motivation to all the more work and study. And in my case, I made sure that I answered everything on our textbook, and just everything was already there, in other words.
Right. Wow. So that's also a new information for us, no, for as your personal background or as a personal history. So moving forward, Ma'am Hilda, you already right after college, no, as mentioned in my introduction, you started teaching part time at San Pedro College. What was your expectation to your students? Were you having this kind of thought that? Mm, are they going to hate math? Are they going to love it? Or did you have a conscious extra effort to to make the subject lovable or at least likable?
I think during that time it was more like, well, I have a job, I might as well do it, and then do it with however I can, you know, what's this? Translate information to them. So I guess, and especially since it was just a few months after, no, a year, a little after, no, a few months, sorry, a few months after I graduated. So whatever was there, it was like, okay, bombard them right away with algebra, which is like the Waterloo of most students. So not good experience. So I was not I was content wise, I was prepared, but in terms of how to teach it, that was just not there.
I see. So yeah, probably you were also trying to test the waters then, and
Yes.
probably also gauge things and what work and what does not. So moving forward to your more of your teaching stint, particularly here now, here already in Suleiman University. Of course, you taught at the junior high school, no?
Uh-huh.
And then when you first of course because you taught in a college, I believe in San Pedro College, diba? College students, and
Yes.
then to junior high school to a basic education student. So how was the transition, Ma'am Scrib, in terms of the likability or the attitude of students towards mathematics? Would you say that it was kind of easier to teach college students than basic ed students?
Believe me, it was easier to teach college, because back then it's like, okay, take it or leave it. But in high school, you really have to like go down to their level. And one thing that I realized with even the students then, I can still remember, I don't know if I can't remember what batch they are. This was like, what's this? I remember Robbie Cafe. I he's probably like in his 40s, and he was saying that he was sort of even saying, "Mom, why don't you teach it like this?" It was something like that. "Mom, we don't understand what you're trying to say. Can you like go down to our level?" So that was an eye opener for me.
Yeah, so there was really a conscious effort, no, to adjust as well to the
Yes.
level. So let's now go to the perceptions of students towards mathematics. As a teacher, how does it feel that, of course, I think it's a common thing for Filipino students, at least, that they really have this sort of intimidation,
Hmm.
or I think that's the word for it.
Well, for one, I mean, for me, this is just my own opinion. I've had students before who are now, what's his parents, and they would even say, I was really not good in math. I was so, I, I, I just, they would say, kapit sa patalim. That was my grade in math before, kapit sa patalim. So it's sort of like them telling their children that this is how far as I go in math. So you either catch up, or if you talk about math, then don't approach me, something like that. So that's basically one. And the fact that maybe it was just so rigorous during that time, because remember, during back in our days, you have to memorize, like for example, simple case as a multiplication table. I think children nowadays would rather say, "Well, we have the calculator, ma'am." Even as simple as 5 times 1. Ma'am, I'll just use my calculator in case, just in case. My answer is wrong. So maybe it's just them being not confident that they'd be able to, solve or even just memorize. That for them is was really something that made them fear or be apprehensive about math.
In your experience, how often do students ask questions?
How often do they ask questions? Well, again, depending on what type of students you are
In
dealing with.
general,
Okay, let's say this is your, yeah, in general, how often do they ask? Um, as much as they would want to ask, like right in the beginning, in the middle of your, because I would always tell my students, if you have any questions or if I am saying something and you don't understand, ask it right away so I can entertain your question. And then afterwards, and then also feedback from, like if they're do writing something, they start asking questions. So that's basically how often they would ask questions on a face to face
yeah,
scenario.
because sometimes, of course, as teachers, we would sense it naman. Sometimes, maybe the reason also students cannot ask the questions because probably they have not understood the concept from the very beginning. So, how do you deal with this kind of students, Script, that they really have just a fixed conception against mathematics, that I'm really bad at it. I really don't do well in math. Like it seems that they have this absolute mindset. So, what approach have you been doing as a teacher about this?
I would usually tell them, like for example, drop by after, or you can just stay put. During the face to face, I would tell them, um, see me after the class. Wait for me after. Maybe if I have to transfer to another room, you walk with me, or I'm going towards the faculty room, and then I'll be having my lunch. Would you like to come join and walk with me towards the faculty room, and then we can start talking? So that's how I would just make it very casual in a sense. And sometimes I would also tell them, well, in the case of the virtual or the online classroom, I would encourage them that if in case there is really something that's bothering you, then send me an email, and then maybe we can set up like a a meeting, a virtual meeting, and hopefully I'd be able to explain it better to you. Some, I think there were only a few people who did that, and like few, probably less than a handful, but the others were just like, sorry, can't do it.
All right. Yeah, I think that's also one of one of the perks of doing really face to face, because there could be like a personal, touch
True.
of our interaction among students. Let's jump to another topic, Ma'am Scrib. This is now in terms of say the curricular changes that we recently had with respect to the K to 12 curriculum versus the curriculum before that. There is much more emphasis now on performance tasks, application of math in real life. So, um, do you think these kinds of tasks or these kind of educational paradigms have improved the attitude of students towards mathematics, or still the same?
I think it's for me again. This is my personal opinion. I think it still stays the same, even if although there are a few, again, a handful of students who say, oh, so that's where the application part is. Because after the application part, or when it comes to the application part, most of the students would always say, oh dear, this is word problem, it's going to be difficult,
Yeah,
etc., etc.
because I think that would be like parang, yeah, you said the Waterloo of students whenever they already see that a paragraph or two and then trying to look for the unknown variables or say solve for the missing number or whatsoever.
Yeah,
So yeah, because once there's this fixed mindset already,
true.
that oh, I can't do it, so I won't do it anyway. um, as a teacher, Ma'am Scrib, how do you do the balancing? Because of course, in a class, there would be a certain segment um, who are very interested and passionate about solving
Mm.
things, and of course would consequently actively participate in the discussion, raise the hands
Mm.
all the time, versus those segment also of the class who do not really participate and do not show interest at all. Like how do you do the balancing? Because of course, as much as possible as a teacher, you also want to keep the pace with
Yes.
those at the back versus those at the front, so what are your approaches to this as far as your experiences are concerned?
Well, like, it's basically the same thing. You ask them, do you have any questions? Things like those. And would you want to, if you're afraid to ask your questions, can you just type it on the chat? Something like that. For the virtual, in the case of the virtual classroom, type your questions, or if you want, you can set an appointment, etc., etc., etc. But it seems like it still falls on deaf ears, because if you, especially if you just tell them, okay, we're going to have a live meeting, I'm going to discuss whatever is there on the virtual classroom, and you don't need to turn on your mic or your cam, etc., etc. So you don't even know who's listening or whatever they're doing. Maybe they're just there for the sake of just being there, just for the attendance, as what they would say.
But speaking of that motivation, ma'am, that interest, is it really necessary that students should have a positive attitude towards mathematics, or this is for your opinion, of course, or we should as much as possible foster that positive attitude, or well, it depends on the students, or what do you think about this? Then second question, I think these are very interrelated. What would be the disadvantages if students would have this negative attitude towards mathematics? Maybe in a sense that maybe in the long run or maybe in their academic life.
Okay. Based on my experience, I never, I when I still had my the face to face, I would tell my students I did not start with someone who was liking math. I never started that way. In fact, in my high school, specifically my algebra teacher, sorry to say, ma'am, but I think I don't know if she's still alive, but she was the one who was really like, I was really discouraged because we would not understand how what she was saying or stuff. So when every time my students would ask, "Mom, were you really that good in math?" Said, "No, I wasn't good in math. I don't even remember a time wherein I was like, yes, I got the highest in. I think there was only one time in college, and that was it. But in high school, no, I wasn't that good in math. So for a student saying, well, for us teachers to have a positive attitude. I mean, if for example, you're teaching physics, right, and that's an application in math, and I'm sure you have it in your heart that you really like math because you know, especially you see the application to it. But it does not necessarily mean that well, we can try to sort of encourage our students to like what we are teaching, but it's not all the time. They will always say, "Ay, mom, because you've been doing that for a long time," or "Mom, because that's what you grew up with," etc., etc., etc. So I don't know if it's going. So for us, yes, we can try our best, but if their if their attitude is already negative, then we can just try and influence them. Otherwise, uh, all the more if we try to tell, math is very easy, and then you give them something that's difficult, they'd be like, "Ma'am, you said math was easy." Okay, so
I got the gist of what you're saying there. I think you're trying to say that there is this student's attitude towards mathematics, but as much as possible, we also try to present
yes,
it in a way
yeah.
that allow them to see the applications later on. The second interrelated question is, um, what could be the drawback or let's say the disadvantage if students continue to adhere to this or yeah to have this kind of negative attitude towards mathematics.
I don't think it will have, for again, personally, don't think it will have any effect on them, because as what I mentioned, I've never had any intentions even of, you know, liking math. I don't know, but once they have seen how the I don't like to say this, once they see that it's something that's really it's for, if it's for them an obstacle that they, if they look at it as an obstacle that they can overcome, then that would be a good thing, no? But for them to, I, I'm at a loss.
Yeah. I think you're also trying to say there, Ma'am Scrib, is it is a process. Um,
Yes.
they won't immediately see the let's say the importance or the application. So allow them to appreciate the process of discovering it as well. What do you think, Ma'am, are the ways to improve students' attitude towards mathematics? One, probably from the end of the teacher. Two, from school perhaps. And number three, from students' end. And number four, from parents as the primary support system to our students.
Okay, so for from the students, that they should just, whether they like it or not, whether they're in love with it or not, they just do their best. And for the teachers, sometimes, especially math teachers, we have a tendency to like, oh, I like this particular part, then I'm going to concentrate on this. But maybe we should, like for example, not really delve into it, uh, because experience wise, I've been there, done that, and it's not good, no? So maybe it's sort of like telling ourselves as teachers, okay, we can, in as much as we would want to go deeper into this, but maybe we should just calm down, and whatever we can, you know, impart on the students, then that's what we can impart. And for those who are interested, then maybe you can tell them, if you're interested, then just let me know, etc., etc. So that's from our end, from the teacher's end. From the administration's end, or from the school's end, maybe just to offer, I don't know, um, like tutorials, free tutorials for that matter. I'm sure that there are, especially for those who cannot afford and who are making ends meet. Now, if they can offer that, then all the more better. And from the end, from the parents' end, just to encourage what's this, your children, that you know just do what they can, but not to the point that, oh, you have to be, because I was good in math, you have to get a 95 or 100 in math, things like that. Because we cannot measure, remember, intelligence is not just in terms of numbers, in terms of and we
Yeah.
we know for a fact that there's several intelligences already. So maybe that's not the intelligence that your child is into. Like in our case, I mean, for one, like I'm yes, I know I'm not that good. Believe me, I'm not that good in math. But I've been teaching this for quite some time. That's why they think, oh, mom, you're so good. No, I'm not. Um, Also, okay, where was I? Please, Scott, I can. Okay, for the parents, just to help them out and just encourage them, and don't belittle your children, because they are really there. I mean, you're blessed with children, so please take care of them, encourage them, but not to the point of saying, well, I will encourage you, so I'm going to give you like 5,000 pesos when you get a 95 in math. Not something like that. Be an encouragement to them. Tell them, I've also been through that, so just press on, do whatever you can. Never pressure them to the point that they will
They
have
will be
to
they
just.
will feel the pressure as well.
Yes.
So, speaking of pressure, do you think how important or uh, what impact does a low grade in math give to students? Like for example, they will say, "Oh, my lowest subject would be mathematics, or sometimes physics, or subject, or this subject." So from what are your experiences on this, Ma'am Hills, in terms of, of course, from the teachers, and I'm pretty sure that we did our
Hmm.
best to even ask questions if they have questions also. But how does it feel when students probably approach you and even openly tell you that, Mom, I feel so frustrated because my score or my grades in mathematics are just so low. So, what have been your approaches to this?
I would, I guess there are only a few people who can do that. Maybe sometimes they would do that. They would do that later on when they're not in my class already. But I would just tell them that, you know, again, it's not. There's one. This is one something that I would tell them, that it's not yet the end of the world. In other words, that's not it. Your grade in math does not define you. That's not. If that's not who you are, then that's not who you are. So you just try your best. So I would just, again, it's just a matter of looking at it from, because they would always say, Mom, you are from among the math subjects that I've been, you gave me the lowest. And I would just say, well, that was just how everything went. No, maybe there were circumstances surrounding it. We don't know. But then again, don't let that define you. And some would say, "Ma'am, thank you for that grade because that really woke me up," something like that. I've had students also who would say, "Na, uh, you gave me a low score, ma'am, but you gave me a low grade," as if I am the one grading them. Said, "You gave me a low grade, ma'am, but thank you for that because I learned." So that the responses like that is sort of like encouraging on my part, and also it hopefully encourage other students na the, your grade does not define you. It's because of circumstances that's going around. I mean, but that's just it. That's how I see it.
Yeah, so what I'm getting there is it's a matter of perspective. How are you going to
Yes. Mm.
see things? Either is the glass half full or half empty, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so we're about to for the interest of time, we're about to end our Chikahan episode number 2, Ma'am Scrib. I want a few of the last questions I'd like to ask you is on a personal note, how did mathematics impact your life?
Um, I think in a way it's like I don't know if it has opened myself to new things. Like for example, number one, if I remember correctly, I never liked teaching. I've never in my dreams, my wildest dreams, be able. I was telling myself, I don't know how I ended up with teaching, but I guess it was maybe this was the gift that the Lord has given to me. That and the fact that um, I've been trying myself not to be so structured, because usually in when you're a math teacher, everything has to be structured. But it's not just math; it's just what I grew up at the same time, because it has to be like there has to be a certain time and a certain, you know, schedule, etc., etc. But that's not just math. That's how I grew up. And so it is in a way a good thing, but bad thing for some. Okay, they don't like structure. In my case, I like structure, which is probably the reason why I like math, because there's a structure to it. And what else, opening up to new avenues, like for example, I've never, like before, when we would I maybe when calculus was not taught in high school, then you've heard of feedbacks from students saying, calculus is so difficult, etc., etc., etc. and and I think it was at some point was and I never really wanted to teach it until it came to us to a point that it's in senior high, you have to teach calculus, and you're just finding out, man, they're all wrong. It's not that difficult. It's just these are just formulas. These are just some things that you can up, you know, you'll just say, oh, I'm going to do this, and then that's it. So I guess that's
And finally, I think my pulot for this Chikahan Ma'am Scrib is that in one way or the other, we're using mathematics every day. I
yes.
mean, we cannot escape from numbers. Like from the time you wake up, what time is it? I think that's mathematics. Or you're trying to calculate how many minutes you're already late from school,
Mhm.
late from your submissions. All of this stuff. How much money you're left with? How much money you're asking from your parents? And how much extra money we should tell them that there's a contribution, etc. So from time to money to business to our purchase, even to church, even the Bible, it has numbers, the technology. So we're basically wrapped in a mathematical world. And um, whether there's a positive attitude towards math or a negative attitude towards math,
Mm.
I think the point here is we should do our best. No, we should do our
Yes.
best. at least to understand and appreciate, because of course mathematics is here for a reason definitely, and it has changed and evolved the world in many ways, so to speak. So to end this, Ma'am Scrib, Ma'am, what is your message to our students, or maybe some words of encouragement for those, or even like maybe some statements for those who are truly and severely struggling with mathematics, and what's also your message for those, or maybe some words of encouragement for those who really love and who really have the passion for math?
Okay, let me start with those who are struggling. We struggle, whether if it's academically, we struggle in so many ways. And if you were able to pass through or go through that struggle or that obstacle, you can also do that in math. It's always an opportunity for for you to grow, not to for you to push yourself further. And if you don't want to be pushed, then that's basically that's where you're at. But do not push yourself to the extent that, oh, this is it's going to define me for the rest of my life. Remember, your grade is just a number. It will never define you. For those who are really interested in math, then go for it. There are a lot of opportunities nowadays, applications specifically in math that you can look into, that you can delve into. No, even if it's even if it's just the application part. That's the beauty about mathematics. And I wish it would be like, there if it could also open other avenues, especially in college degrees, that could open, not just because I know there are schools who are opening like applied math, but it's just something that's very vague. It has to be something that's very nowadays everything has to be very specific, right? If you so how I wish, no, I don't know if I will get to see it in my lifetime, wherein they will just say, oh, this is your specialty, this point here, wherein mathematics is applied at this particular um, uh, in this particular field, so you can be good at it, so you can explore. So I wish, and I'll probably one of those people who will just say, finally, it's happening, and things like that. So yeah, I guess that's it. And for those who think they're mediocre, they can never be mediocre. No, if you just say, "Mom, I'm just kapit sa patalim," no, I'm just right there, a good mom. The only grade I can reach is just this much. Or, mom, until before, uh, I would students would say, ay, salamat, nakakuha na ako. I'm just there. I'm just my grade in math is just 75. But I've seen my students before who had maybe a grade of 75, but they're still they're still better off in life. Not just in terms of finances, but also in terms of like their well-being. So don't just say mediocre ako when it comes to math. No, there's always you can always shine. No,
Wow, thank you.
especially in life.
Yes, thank you so much, Ma'am Hills. No, wonderful words for those who are kind of struggling in mathematics, and for those who really have the passion for mathematics. I think the point there is just let's continue doing our best, no, in whatever we are doing, especially if you're still a student, or if you're even a teacher, also a math teacher also,
Mm,
who see your, there are also a lot of math teachers who see their students struggling, and of course that also is a challenge, to all of our mathematics teachers. So I
yeah.
do hope and pray that you pick some wonderful ideas or reflections or even realizations in this team virtual chikahan about attitudes of students toward mathematics. And again, I'd like to thank our guest, Kachikahan, Assistant Professor Gilda Scribner. Mom Scrib, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for being with us in this second episode of Virtual Chikahan in Project Steamify. And to end this, allow me to say that mathematics is really part of our life, whether or not we like it. And mathematics has been teaching us a lot of values, a lot of lessons that we should add love, we should subtract hate, and more importantly, it gives us hope that every problem has a solution. So thank you very much, everybody, for those who are eavesdropping this conversation. I hope you stay blessed, you stay safe, you stay alive, and to God be all the glory. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Thank you, Ma'am Scrib.